As a matter of fact, it was my sister who had recommended I come see him, and her name is Shay. And we had heard about him through the radio station that he has, the Christian radio station. I had been in a severe car accident where I'd gotten hit from behind about 60 miles an hour, and then went head-on into a median at about 75 miles an hour. And then my car whiplashed from left to right and filed off the whole front of my Buick. So that was over 20 years ago, which is really interesting, which brings it up to date. I was starting to have a lot of trouble with my neck, back, started to realize I was having a lot of trouble just getting through, day-to-day life with a lot of pain, and on Tylenol and ibuprofen a great deal, just trying to get through the pain. And thought, well, this must just be part of, you get in your late 30s, close to 40s, and this is just what happens. And I went with my husband hunting, and he was asking me to help him with the deer, help drag a deer out, and we were doing that. And that's the straw that broke the camel's back. I found myself in a position where I couldn't barely walk. Couldn't do anything. Couldn't put my hands in front of my, over my head to comb my hair. Was in a helpless point. We had spent over $20,000 through the healthcare industry trying to solve my problem, and the solution was drugs, a lot of heavy pain pills, and potentially looking at some surgery for my spine. And we have some family members that have had that done, and they didn't have very positive outcomes. And my sister finally said to me, why don't you come see Dr. Nikitow? And I said, listen, I'm headed to the ER again. I feel lousy. I feel like I'm having a heart attack again, having difficulty breathing. And at this point, I couldn't do anything. I was literally like sitting on the couch, having people come and take care of both my daughter and I. And she was obviously a couple years younger because we started seeing Nikitow 3 years ago. When you're in a position where you can't function on a daily basis, it becomes very, you have dark days. Came to see Dr. Nikitow, and he, within the first treatment, I wasn't feeling like I was having a heart attack. I was able to breathe. I was starting to stand up better because I was slunched over and having a lot of difficulty just moving. Started to realize, my God, I can breathe again. And so I came back a second time to see him. And the time I came to see him, he had taken x-rays, and he had shared with me, this is something that didn't just happen overnight, Robin. This is something that has been here for quite some time, after going through a thorough examination with the x-rays of my spine before he ever adjusted me. And he said, this is just something that has happened. As he had seen. He said, I can see right here there's at least 20 years of damage that's been done. And Rome wasn't built overnight. And he says, here's the deal. You let me, we'll help you. But I'm going to ask you the same. We're going to give you some physical therapy moves. And at the same time, I need you to help yourself. So if you do your part, I'll do mine. And he said, we'll get you back feeling like a regular person where you can walk and, do stuff with your daughter. Because at this point, I wasn't able to do much with her at all. So as of last year, I've been seeing Dr. Nikitow. This is my third year as of August as a patient of his. And not this last Mother's Day, the Mother's Day before, which would have been in May of 2010, I was riding a bicycle for the first time with my daughter. And that was a huge day because everything he said was right. I did those physical therapy moves, which a lot of chiropractors don't incorporate. Dr. Nikitow has a gift that I have never seen any other doctor have, which is, combining the two together. He also has healing hands. I do believe that, God gives each person specific spiritual gifts. And Dr. Nikitow has the spiritual gift of healing people. I brought my daughter to start seeing him because she was having severe ear infections and respiratory, and she has asthma. And what was interesting, when Faith was born, she was a C-section baby, and wasn't wanting to come out. And it turns out her head was hanging inside my rib cage with very little amniotic fluid. I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. And through that, she ended up having some damage in her neck and also her spine. And when you'd look at a regular child in the back of their spine, you would notice you could see part of her vertebrae, but from about the waist up, you couldn't see it. It was concaved in. And since we've been seeing Dr. Nikitow, she's able to breathe better. Her asthma's way better and more under control than it ever has been. You can see her spine just when she stands up normally, which is huge, which we never were able to see before. And she was also having a lot of severe issues with ear infection after ear infection after ear infection prior to coming to Dr. Nikitow. And, we might have one ear infection a year now, which is huge. She had tubes in her ears. But this is a child who is definitely starting to thrive, and she's been under his care now for a couple of years, the same as Mom. Huh. How does Dr. Nikitow make you feel?
Good.
Yeah. So he's been truly beneficial in the care of our family, and including my husband, who was not a believer in chiropractic. Daddy started coming, was it last year? And so it made a believer out of my husband as well. Even my mom, which I'll share a testimony, she's not here right now. She's at home, but she's been a patient of his as well. She was at a point where she had severe COPD and was literally spending her life living on a couch with one of the highest levels of oxygen you can have on a daily basis, with tubes, in her nose and so forth. And she came to see him, and he had looked over her x-rays, and she had been seeing her, the specialist for her lungs, and Dr. Nikitow had expressed how important her case was. That he said, are you having a lot of difficulty breathing? Are you having chest pains, all these things? And my mom's like, yeah, how'd you know? And he says, well, Sheila, let me share with you. Your spine is like a towel. It's been wrung, like when you wring a towel. And that's right there where the nerves that go to your heart and lungs are, which was having her have a lot of difficulty. Well, anyway, she started seeing him for about 2 years, and is now, after 6 months of seeing him, she ended up having a huge party at her home for 150 people, and just getting around like a young 30-something-year-old, just moving around like crazy and doing well. She went back to her doctors, and they took her off a lot of the medications that she was on for her lungs. She's getting the oxygen back through the body, the way God had made us. That there is a point, like Dr. Nikitow always says, that God built our bodies, and there are ways to heal your own body, and it doesn't have to always be medication induced. So she's thriving too, and then I have a sister, and she comes here as well. So we're very grateful to Dr. Nikitow and the health benefits we're receiving because of it. So we were thinking about another thing that I wanted to mention that might be helpful for maybe some of other people that are struggling with some of the same things. Right after having faith, I started having a high sensitivity to smells and perfumes, chemical products, cleaning house supplies, all that kind of, any kind of cleaning products. And got so bad that I was getting to the point where I had to, I ended up having to go to a store and get one of those heavy-duty painter's masks. And it almost looked like Darth Vader. It had, the whole front with the side pieces on it, huh?
and little strings.
Mm-hmm, to tighten it, right? And where did Mommy wear it?
On her nose and mouth. It was kind of weird.
When we'd go where?
Walking into the stores with her like that.
Mm-hmm. To like Dillard's or Park Meadows Mall. I'd wear it just about everywhere. Some of the vitamin stores and so forth. It was just to the point where it was so bad. It was kind of like being pregnant, where you have the high sensitivity to smell, and like your husband is wearing a cologne, and you go, oh my God, you need to take that off right now, because I'm going to get sick. And that's how it was on a daily basis for me. And Dr. Nikitow ended up doing, I took like 20 minutes, and it was a technique, and I'm not sure what it is, but he described it kind of like sometimes what doctors do with cancer patients, as far as
I'm not quite sure what it is, but where you follow his hand, your eyes do, and I call it brain retracing or resetting your brain. And anyway, I'm not sure what the correct term is. Sorry, Dr. Nikitow. But he ended up helping me to where I was able not to wear my mask again. And the day that he had me come in and we worked on this, and this was going on for about, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. He had his bathroom had those perfume deodorizers that are in there that would make me sick. And you have them all over at a lot of the restaurants and so forth today. But he said, Robin, come here. Now that we've spent this 20 minutes and I've done this for you, I want you to go in that ladies' room and not with your mask this time. And I was crying. I said, I can't do it. I can't do it. And he said, no, you can do this. And I said, no, you don't understand. I'm going to get sick again. I'm going to get sick and lose my cookies. and so anyway, he stood by the back of the ladies' room door and said, I want you to go in there for 5 minutes. So I went in there crying and came out. And he said, so how you feel? And I said, well, I can't believe you made me do that. But in the end, I felt fine. And it was thanks to him because I felt better than fine. Yeah. And so anyway, I don't have that mask anymore, do I? Mm-mm. So he was able to help me, and I'm not sure what that technique was, but he is amazing. We just want to say thank you, Dr. Nikitow, for helping our family. We're so grateful for your help and your time. You have healing hands, and it's amazing that God has put you in this role, and yet it's the best role he could have asked you to be in. There's no chiropractor that I'm aware of, and we have seen a couple different ones that can heal like you do. So we want to thank you.